Late, I apologize. Just running around like a chicken with no head. But here we are. We are here for Coffee Talk. It is not busy because I'm having to do TV stuff. I get to focus on you. We get to focus on each other. Rise and shine. Good morning. It is Tuesday morning, August the 22nd. I'm first warning meteorologist Eric Burris. What a busy little stretch we have out in the tropics. Thankfully, that cannot be said here locally. Look at that shot. Daytona Beach. Rise and shine. It is lovely. That sun is up in full force. Gorgeous stuff. Clear sky over top of us. Yeah, this is good. Let's take a look at first warning live Doppler radar. Not really seeing anything. Temperatures out the door in the 70s. Ocala, you okay up there? Am I reading this right? Does that say 73 degrees? Is that 75 in the Villages? 75 degrees in Palm Coast? That looks outstanding. Kind of jealous. Not gonna lie. Kind of jealous. All right, so where do we go from here? Bright sunshine, beautiful weather for us. 94 degrees at 3 o'clock this afternoon. A sprinkle or two here or there. But it's going to be a pretty nice dry day. It's going to be a beautiful day. Temperatures, sure, going to get a little warmer than maybe seasonal average. Remember, the seasonal average high temperature has dropped to 91, so there's that. But 94 is going to be our forecast high today. That said, what about the feels like temperatures? Oh, you make this stuff up and we don't like it. You hush your mouth. All right, where do we go feels like temperature-wise? Let's take a look for today in Orlando. Getting into about 100 degrees, so we're going to approach that triple-digit range. 99 there. Daytona Beach will be our feels like temperature today. But over the next couple of days, do notice that while we're hanging out in a nice warm stretch, a little warmer tomorrow, kind of coming down a little bit Thursday, Fridays, rain chances rise. And then this weekend, we're going to bring that feels like temperature up just a little bit. So, just expect it. It's not going to be a massive thing, but it's going to be a thing. All right? All right. That's where we are locally. All right? As far as the weather forecast goes, we've got Harold out there kind of impacting Texas and Mexico, but our weather picture stays pretty nice and quiet today. And then looking ahead to tomorrow, same thing. A little piece of energy throwing a little extra moisture in for tomorrow. But basically, the next couple of days, we're looking at a pretty dry forecast around Central Florida. Today, a 10% coverage. Tomorrow and Thursday, that little piece of energy drives us up to a 20% coverage of rain. And then it drops it back down to a 10% on Friday. So there's just not much going on locally at all. Here's our 7-day forecast. It's not until like early next week that we start to bring those rain chances up just a little bit. 92 for our Wednesday and our Thursday and our Friday. 94 on Saturday. 96 on Sunday. So no surprise that the feels like temperatures are getting up to 105 or 106 this weekend because the actual temperatures are on their way up. Yeah, we've got a stretch of warm temperatures across Central Florida. Good times. Laura says, as long as it's not 115, I'm happy. Well, it does make me wonder, though, and I don't know if I can do this. Can I do this? Stand by. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to try and run the raw GF. I haven't run it in a minute. I don't know if I even remember where the heck that all is. Can I run it? Let's see. I'm going to try, and I'm going to run the raw GFS. Okay. All right. I think I got it. All right. So based on that, I believe, I'm just curious to look at like the raw GFS and the Euro and see what they're throwing out for numbers. GFS graph. Okay. So here's what the GFS is saying over the next couple of days. Let's take a look. So Thursday, Friday, those temperatures come down a little bit, right? Yep, we've got that. And then look at Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Like, yeah, the GFS is throwing a little heat at us. Okay. So, there's that. Obviously, we're hoping that doesn't play out. But You can very clearly see, though, the GFS at the very least is throwing in some extra heat. No, thank you. All right. At any rate, Thursday, Friday, not as hot, okay, because of that little piece of energy, that little piece of moisture around. So let's look at the weather pattern here. So many tropical graphics. It's like, where's the non-tropical stuff at? Because we've got so much. Hold on. That's the one I'm looking for. Okay. All right. So there you go. Nice and dry for us in Central Florida. There's that little piece of energy that comes in Wednesday and Thursday, throws a couple of sprinkles our way. Doesn't really do much. And then afterward, that ridge of high pressure builds in and just kind of sets us back up for the heating for that Friday, that Saturday, and that Sunday. And it's yeah. I'm just going to look at it again and groan again. Not a fan. Not a fan. Not a fan. Oh, go to bed, GFS. Laura says, we don't want 99 anymore. I know, right? No thanks. Marilyn says, God, I'm late. Hope I didn't miss much. No, we're talking local. We haven't even moved on to the tropics yet. So Michael's asking, it's a good question. When is the dry season usually kick up? That's a really good question, actually. So the rainy season usually comes to an end around October or so. Mid-October is the norm. So the dry season runs from mid-October to mid-May. That's when we get those cool fronts, but usually around October 15th. And then, of course, that said, the cool season typically starts around the same time frame, okay? Usually around October 9th is the first morning that we start in Central Florida below 60 degrees. Can go as late as November, though. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay? That's the thing. That's the thing to remember. Belinda says, I hope good weather. Heading to Palm Beach August 27th through the 1st. Need a break from work. Oh, Palm Beach. My second home. I love it down there. I love it down there. I'd be happy with a morning below 70. Yeah, I would agree. I don't know if we've got that logged. I don't know if we have. I don't know that we do. Below, yeah, these are all below 60. Do I have 70? I don't. All right. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look and see. All right, here, I'll try and do some Climo. I don't have a graphic for it, but we'll put this together. All right. First, last dates, minimum temperature. Okay, first, include value, less or equal to 70. Minimum temp less or equal to August 1st. Okay, and then MCO Okay. All right. So the average first maximum, hold on. First for minimum temperature less than or equal to 70 season. The first, actually I need to do 69. Okay. All right. First temperature in the 60s on average. Last year was September 29th. All right. And that usually around September 5th is what we find. So by September 5th, that's on average. That's on average when we have our first temperature. That's interesting. That's actually interesting. On average, there's a graphic right there. Like, y'all are literally writing the content for us. Okay, I think this is great. The average first morning in Orlando at or below 69, so into the 60s, average is September 5th. Last year it was September 29th. The year before was September 29th. The year before was September 23rd. 2019 was September 7th. 2018 was October the 13th. Gross. Kind of interesting, though. The earliest, and the latest would be 2017 was October 24th. That stunk. But yeah, so September 5th is usually when we have our first temperature in Orlando at or below 69. Interesting. That's a random graphic I would have never gone to look up myself. And so for that, I thank you. All right. Any other questions before we get to the tropics? Because there's a whole lot there. And by the way, while we're talking tropics, I would not be doing justice if I did not do the old tease. Today at 10 a.m., join me and WJCL, our sister station, Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson. He and I are going to be discussing the tropics. Now, you're going to get, listen. You're going to be getting some tropics talk now. But at 10 a.m., it's all tropics all the time. It's straight up nerd stuff. So tracking the tropics at 10 a.m. on all of these same social channels, plus WESH2, the WESH2 mobile app, and if you want to get feisty, WJCL and the WJCL mobile app. We'll be talking. We'll be coming around the mountain when they come. Okay, all right, so to the tropics. What's going on right now? So let's just see what we've got. All right, so from left to right. Kind of surreal. There's so much going on. So you've got Harold over here in the Gulf of Mexico trying to make landfall. Franklin struggling with wind shear. Gert doing its thing. Area of low pressure that was Emily. And then another wave coming off the coast of Africa. So a lot to track. Let's start by just seeing what's doing a little closer to home, right? All right, so let's start and see what's doing when it comes to Harold. That system in the Gulf, if I can find the darn graphics. All right, here we are. First off, let's start with the radar imagery. And you can see that counterclockwise spin as Harold is working closer and closer to the shoreline. It's got to re-download the radar because I zoomed in. It will. Give it a minute. So there's Harold. Winds are at 45 miles an hour. A bunch of rainfall working towards South Texas. Not a big, strong hurricane, thankfully, but a decent little tropical storm. Forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center. There you go. Kind of coming ashore. South Texas. Maximum sustained winds may pick up just a little bit, but it's going to be through the afternoon today. All right. And because of that, South Texas is under tropical storm warnings from basically Starbase, Brownsville, Boca Chica, South Padre, all the way up through about, look at that, Seadrift, Bay City under a tropical storm watch, Galveston Island not. So there you go, tropical storm warnings in place for South Texas. Just a pretty decent little batch of rain moving in that direction there. I'll zoom back into it so you can see. Squally weather for much of coastal Texas. Not expected to rapidly intensify to a hurricane. And there's kind of the satellite imagery just for case in point. A couple of things with this. First off, we know that the water temperatures in the Gulf have been boiling. But here's another example of it takes more than just hot water to fire up hurricanes, right? So there's that. Tropical Storm Harold, 8 a.m. intermediate advisory. Winds are at 45 miles an hour. Okay, back behind that, we've got Tropical Storm Franklin. Doing something out there in the Caribbean Sea. Winds are at 50. Some pretty decent wind shear in there. And because of that wind shear, Franklin not really doing a ton. There's the forecast from National Hurricane Center, essentially bringing it up in intensity and then kind of just wiggling around here may become a hurricane by Saturday or Sunday. Okay, so that's Franklin. Not a big threat to anybody, or certainly not to us, thankfully. There are tropical advisories, though, posted for parts of the Caribbean islands. You can see the south shore of the Dominican Republic and Haiti under tropical storm warnings. The northern shoreline there of the island under tropical storm watches, and parts of the Turks and Caicos under tropical storm watches. There are no advisories for right now for Puerto Rico or the United States or British Virgin Islands. All right? That's Franklin. Then behind Franklin, you've got Gert, heavily sheared, not really doing much at all. But there's kind of the forecast from the Hurricane Center, basically falling apart. Then, after Gert, we've got what was Emily. It's now post-tropical cyclone. Essentially, there it is. Has a chance, 20% chance of reorganization. That was Emily. Not a big deal there. And last but not least, off the coast of Africa, we've got this decent little wave, but the chances of formation have dropped. But later this week, could get something trying to form out that direction. So again, there's your wide map. Lots of stuff. Thankfully, no threats to us. Laura says, Gert, what a name, right? What a name, that Gert. Looks like we will get to the Greek alphabet pretty quickly, Lucas points out. The Greek alphabet has been retired from the tropics, my friend. Believe it or not, the reason is you can't retire Greek names because they are not names. So what we ended up doing is adding a supplemental list. So here we are. Let me update this real fast because we have Harold. There you go. All right. So there's the list of names. We now have added Harold to the mix. Once this is done, there's a supplemental list of names. I've got to find the thing. Do I not have it? Here we are. Yeah, supplemental storm names. There you go. So there's the list of supplemental storm names. If we run out of names, we get to that. I don't anticipate that. I certainly don't hope for that, but nevertheless. All right. Any questions as far as things go right now? Otherwise, we can start looking at some computer model data. Too much activity, Ely's saying. Hopefully nothing strong. So far, so good. We're going on a cruise this weekend to the Bahamas. Should we be worried with the storms? No storms are coming. I mean, it may get a little bumpy, but outside of the Bahamas. You know, the Bahamas are a nice break. So what usually they do is they just kind of hang inside the Bahamas, which protects you. So you should be pretty good. How come we reuse some of the names? There are millions of names. Can't auto-generate something different? CC, so the way that they do it is they set up a list of names, and they've got 5 of them. And we repeat unless we have a big problem. And then that gets retired, and then they replace it. John says Nigel is going to be a polite gent of a storm. That's right. Pardon me. I don't mean to bother. I was just curious if you'd like a little bit of extra rain. No gusts. We won't throw a tornado or anything. Oh, my apologies. My name is Nigel. I'm a tropical storm. Don't worry, though. I'll weaken right before making landfall. Beverly, why no X, Y, or Z on the names? Because there's not a ton of them. And the idea is this needs to be able to span the test of time. Okay. All right. So there it is. Head spinning. Let's look and see what the computer models are showing. And if you are unfamiliar with this is the raw model data that we look at in the Weather Center. This is as raw gets. And Cindy, yeah, you are so not British. I know. Listen, nobody ever said that I was good in comedy or impressions. That's why I do weather. My bad. All right. So, great Nigel accent. See, Ari thinks it's a great Nigel accent. Cindy, You're outweighed. Arch says terrible English accent. I know. Scottish ain't much better either. You know what I mean? All right. So that, I feel like it's hard to pronounce the worse it is. James, that I name. Oh, you're asking about the I name? It's Adalia. Adalia is the I name. We'll have so much fun. It's better than Isaias was. What a pain in the neck that thing was. Okay, so here's the raw GFS, the most recent run. First off, let's just zoom in because there on the left side of your screen, there's Harold making landfall right around South Texas. All right, nothing too strong there. And you know, South Texas wasn't a hot spot, but it was an area of interest. We knew that there were some features that were in that vicinity, so we did highlight it as an area of interest. So there you go. All right. Evelyn, I thought it was a brilliant accent. Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you. We'll stick together, you and I. All right. So beyond that, let's just widen this out. Now you have to use that voice on TV when you get a name. I'll try it. All right. So first off, there's Franklin in the Caribbean. There, Franklin just kind of meandering, really bombing out. And right there, kind of interesting, right? Like there's Franklin bombing out and then passing by just offshore of the Carolinas. My friends, I'm pretty sure that is our Carolina low. Thankfully, the models keep it off the shoreline, but that's going to be a nasty little cell. That's going to be a nasty little storm, Franklin. And that, you know, that ties into the timing and location of everything. So I'm glad it's staying off the shoreline. But there it go. Now, does it move up into like the Canadian Maritimes and Nova Scotia? That's the morning of the 30th. So that's next Wednesday. Ugh, gross. Nigel Thornberry, it's your service. Very good. Oh, my Aussie accent. Listen, I'm not very good at this. What would be Ophelia? I'm Hurricane Ophelia. No, I'm not good at it. All right, rolling on. A couple storms out in the open Atlantic. Now, let's zoom in right there. That's the 6th of September. Bada bing. Right there. Interesting, huh? That's 18Z, so that's 2 p.m. on Wednesday, September 6th. Okay. A little something developing in the Gulf of Mexico? Could be. I think it's probably a little late, but it's possible. We did highlight in our long range forecast. We did highlight the West Coast around August 30th through September 5th. Is it running late? I mean, if it's outside of that window, I'll be a little frustrated, but at least it's kind of showing up. So that's September 6th. We'll have to watch and see how that plays out, but that could be the West Coast part of the pattern. That's the GFS. Let's go over and switch over to look at the European. All right. First off, there's the European showing, what is it, Harold? What's that darn H storm now? I'm like already... what is it? Let me look it back up. This is where my memory is. I need more coffee. 2023. Harold. Yes, it is Harold. Okay. All right. So there's Harold. All right. So Harold makes landfall. There's Franklin, kind of weakens over land and then starts to strengthen. And thankfully, the European keeps Harold off the shoreline. But look what happens. A little CAG fires up. That's the 30th. And there's your West Coast part of the pattern. So funny, though, because what you end up with is the GFS. If you look at our forecast dates on this, okay? If you look at the forecast dates, the GFS had it on September 6th. The European has it on the 31st. So the European model has it kind of where it's supposed to be and when it's supposed to be. The GFS is a little delayed. But either way, that right there around the 31st, that's absolutely fitting into our Florida West Coast storm system, part of the pattern there. Now, we'll have to look and see how the ensembles play it, but that's something. Last but not least, let's just look further downrange. Something else. Look at that, around September 5th, something kind of coming out of the main development region up through the hurricane graveyard of the Caribbean Islands. And that's as far out as that goes. All right, ensemble time. GFS ensemble. All right. You got all those lows from Franklin there. Not much, kind of meandering and then lifting to the north. I want to see, though, yeah, I mean, most everything keeps it well off the shoreline of the Carolinas. So good. I mean, the Carolina part of the pattern is showing up. It's just thankfully not bothering them. So that's perfectly fine. And then after that, according to the GFS, look at that. The GFS from the 31st on is really sniffing stuff out more east of us than anything. It's got a couple of little ensembles trying to do something around the 31st. What is that? That's a 995, 994 low. So the GFS is not sniffing on that like early September, late August thing. The Florida West Coast part of the pattern is not doing a great job with it. The European ensemble, on the other hand, let's just kind of see. So there's Franklin there east of us. And then it's trying to develop in that same timeline a CAG. You see, you can really see it here. You've kind of got two distinct camps. You've got Franklin on the right, outside of the Bahamas, and then you've got that CAG on the left around the Yucatan Peninsula and the Bay of Campeche. Drink. And then from there, you kind of just see Carolinas and then the Florida. I mean, there's a lot of ensemble support. There's a lot of ensemble support for stuff. And then afterward, you get some MDR stuff. Look at that. You see that? You start to see some MDR stuff getting close to Florida, which is a good reminder that it's not quite there, but it's a good reminder that come September 8th through the 14th, we've got the Florida East Coast part of the pattern. Yeesh McGeesh. All right. So, it's odd having that full screen with my face. Today, at 10 a.m., 1 hour, 30 minutes from now, tracking the tropics, we're going to be discussing all of this. We're going to be discussing all of this in earnest. We're going to be looking at all the data together, getting all that information together, all of that fun stuff for you. All right. In the meantime, 7-day forecast, keeping it hot and dry next couple of days, really scorching it up this weekend, and then starting to bring some rain chances back in early next week. Taylor says, I love how the drinking game started last year, and now he uses it as an excuse to drink himself. Yeah, kind of. It's all right. Campeche. All right. 10 a.m. Tracking the tropics. I'll see you there. In the meantime, stay cool, everybody. Enjoy that sunshine and be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank y'all. We'll see you in about an hour and a half.